Handling an overflowing inbox is a real pain, and in this video I'm going to show you two ways that you can put Power Automate into the frame to help you manage, remind and deal with emails that you've categorized for action later. The starting point might be an email that's been sent to you that's a bit like this. It might have that important flag that's been set for you by the person sending it. You may have taken actions to categorize it according to your own setup and your own process. Here I've marked it for reply. What you might also do is you might have a process that allows you to move items to a particular folder. So here, needs reply. So I know very clearly with this one, for example, because it's in this folder, I need to reply to it. How we're going to use Power Automate here is it's going to be our watcher and our reminder of various different attributes that we've set against an email, and it'll tell us if we've not followed up on that thing. So for example, if we've got it in this needs reply folder, it's going to tell us if we've not replied. Equally, if we have this reply category, wherever that email sits, whether it's in my inbox or the needs reply folder, I'll be able to look at that category and tell myself whether I have replied to that email or not and get a reminder in Teams if I haven't. Let's go and have a look at how to set that up. Because the Microsoft Power Platform offers a lot of flexibility, I've got two options here I'm going to show you. The one on the left is perhaps the more basic to intermediate setup. It's quite easy to understand. It uses standard actions and is constructible just using it out of the box, drag and drop. The one on the right needs a little bit more thought. It utilizes what's called the Graph API, so perhaps is for the more advanced users or those interested in going a little bit deeper into what Power Automate can do if you implement the Graph API. Let's show you the one on the left first, and I'll give you an overview of how this all hangs together. If you have any questions, do ask them in the comments and I'll go deeper into how each of these steps is set up. The way each of the flows is triggered is using a recurrence trigger. This is effectively a schedule. You set your interval, you set your frequency, you set your time. All very self-explanatory. So if we take the left leg first, the first thing we do is we go and inspect that needs reply folder. This is simply get emails version 3. That's an out-of-the-box action that you can get. Just a reminder on how to get those actions. You can type them into the add-on action, look for the Office 365 Outlook group, see more if you don't see it already, and use Get Emails v3. I've just named this so I know what it's going to go and do. The way I've set this up is not with any particular filtering in place, other than I'm making sure I get any emails, I don't filter out attachments, and I look in that folder which is needs reply. I don't only want unread because I might have been messing around with the emails in the interim period. Just to be safe, I'm only going to go and get the top 10. My assumption is I'm not going to miss more than 10 in a day, otherwise my process is broken. But you can take that out, you can add to it, you can change it. The next thing to do is to go and do exactly the same action, but this time we'll point it at the sent folder. Here it's very important to be careful about the volume. You do not want to get all the emails in your sent folder. For me, I've decided that I send no more than 100 a day, so I'll get the top 100. There are ways as you get more advanced to filter this down, but have an experiment with these basic parameters and see where it gets you. Now's where things get fun. We have a bunch of emails here that sit in our important or our needs reply folder. We also know that we've got a bunch of emails in our sent folder. The task here is to understand whether there is an item from our needs reply that doesn't exist in our sent folder. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to look at conversation IDs. This is a unique piece of data which applies to all emails that you will use in Outlook. If you've got a conversation ID that's in your needs reply folder, i.e. there's an email with a conversation ID, but it does not exist in the sent folder, that means you haven't replied to it and you might want to take some action. So how do we figure that out? What we need to do is set up a loop to go through each of the items we have in this needs reply folder action. And that's what we've got here. Apply to each of those items. We've simply chosen from dynamic content the needs reply body value. That'll iterate now through any number of emails that you've got in your inbox or wherever you pointed that. Then what we're going to do is use the filter array action. In this case, what we'll do is we'll take the sent folder items as our input. That's what this is. And simply it's the body value from the sent folder action. And then we're just going to pair up the conversation ID for that particular item with a conversation ID from the reply folder. If I hover over it, I'll show you what the expression looks like. If you like to type expressions, it's item conversation ID is equal to apply to each of the needs reply folder items conversation ID, or equally, you can just simply select it using dynamic content. So we choose conversation ID. What that's going to do is going to create an array with 0 or more items that correspond to that conversation ID. And then all we're going to do is we're going to check whether there is at least something in that filter array. If there isn't, it means we've never replied to that particular email. So here you'll see the expression I've typed in. And again, just to show you where I did that, it's in the expression editor here. I typed in length, and then we use the body of the filter array. Again, you can just type in, I'll show you how to build this. I've typed in the expression that I want. Length just tells me how big an array is, and then choose the dynamic content. So it would be the list of body response objects would be that one. You'll see it's exactly the same there. Click add, and that'll add it for you. Here I've said if it's empty, so it's less than 1, then I want you to tell me because I've not replied to that email. And all I'm doing here is using actions to go and build a Teams message. So first of all, I get my profile, then get an app mention, which is a Teams group action, and we use the ID that we retrieved in this profile here. Then we just simply create the message. So we use the app mention that we've got from this action here and type a message to say you've forgotten to reply. You could go mad. You could actually include the email conversation ID and probably get some text from the email that you might want to reference. But for here, it's kept nice and simple. So I'll quickly run that left leg for you so you can see what it looks like. And what I'm expecting to see is that because in that folder there, I've got 2 emails. In my sent item, I have 1 email which corresponds to one of those. So the conversation ID does correspond. The other one should not have a conversation ID in the sent items. So I expect to get notified. And you saw as I was speaking there, it popped up to notify me. So that indicates something has happened. So let's just quickly show you what that looks like. We have 2 iterations for the 2 emails. The first one, it went down the left leg. So it clearly did not find a corresponding conversation ID. For the second one, it did. It found that I'd replied, and actually I could put something else in there if I wanted to, but I've just said you've replied, no need to send a Teams message. So that just shows how that one works, and it relies upon your process being to take items for the inbox, know when something's important, and put them in the needs reply folder. Let's just take this one and put it back in the inbox, and this time we're going to start to use the categories that we've set up. Now, out of the box, categories can't be used by Power Automate in the same manner that I just showed you that folders can. You can understand whether someone sent you an important email and use that same technique. If you look into the get emails, you'll notice that any of these items will be ones that you can effectively key into and understand. There aren't many other options that you can expand upon to filter your emails at this point. Categories isn't one of them, but it's a very common need to categorize emails and then follow up on them later. Maybe you actually want to categorize them and create planner tasks from them. Now, on the right hand side, I'm going to show you how you can do that as well. Now, I said before, this is slightly more advanced, but it's not that complex to set up. The action that you're seeing on screen here is an HTTP request. Effectively, you're going to directly try and connect to the Graph API, as it's called, and get information back from a part of that Graph API that can interact with emails for you. So if you type HTTP in, what you're looking for is the Office 365 Outlook group and then the send an HTTP request action. What you then need to do is put a very specific call to the Graph API into this box here, into the URI. I've used the Graph API Explorer, which is a piece of technology out there on the internet that you can use to help me build a call into the Graph API, which is going to get me my messages. And in this case, what I'm then going to do is I'm going to filter those messages, and this piece here is important, on the categories. There's a very specific syntax you need to use, but you can copy it from the screen here. And I'm just going to filter any emails where the category is set to reply. In this case, I'll filter the top 25. I'll use the get method. And what that's going to do is retrieve any emails effectively from my inbox, which is another little parameter I've set here, mail folders inbox, and bring it back. Then what I need to do is just pass the JSON so it's nice and machine readable for Power Automate. And then all this is doing is an apply to each loop, going through that JSON, going through the body and value of the JSON, in turn looking for some piece of data. So in this case, I'm just exposing for my own kind of debugging. I'm exposing the categories for that item and the subject relating to the email. So you could do anything at this point. You could say if the category is reply, then perform those steps in the other leg that I showed you where you check to see if there's a corresponding conversation in sent. And if there is, go and send me a Teams message. If the category is plan, you could create a planner task using one of the other videos that I've shown you on how to create a planner task. But let's just give this a quick run so you can see how that performs. So it's got all my messages using that HTTP action. If I show you the outputs there, this is what one would look like. You have the body and then each of the values which corresponds to an individual email. What you're looking for here is just down here, the categories, the reply. So that first one has a category of reply, which means I can intercept it and do something with it. I've only got one email that it's brought back because that's what I asked it to do. So you can see the format of the data coming back. We've then parsed it so it's nice and chunked up, ready for us to use. And then we go and have a look at each of those values that we've got back. And in the compose, this is the category in that particular email. The subject is urgent, we need to do this. So from that point, I can go off and build my flow to do the action I want to perform. So I hope that's helpful. If you want any more tips and tricks around Power Automate, don't forget to like and subscribe this video. Then you can see as I post other ones in the coming weeks. Take care for now.